Hello, it's Beth Roszman, and I am here as part of the 2021 American Society of Dowsers annual convention. This year we're holding it virtually, and I love that, but I will look forward to seeing you guys next year in person. So I'm making this recording as a backup in case my live presentation doesn't work. And I'm also going to make this presentation on available on my YouTube channel which is just under Beth Roszman. So I'm excited to be here today, and I want to share with you my information during this session I have on how we douse and correct a home that needs some fixing, as they would say where I'm from in Kentucky. It's about how to diagnose some particular specifics of a home, and then I'm going to share with you some corrections. So I've been doing work on homes and businesses and people for about 20 years. And then about 15 years ago, I started to include their home and property actually in the clearings that they would receive. And I do most all of my work in absentia. We don't need to be physically at a property, although sometimes it could be helpful, but through the realm of time and space, we are able to connect in to a home and property. And I've seen some amazing benefits on when you identify a disconnect or something that's off balance with a home, and it will improve the life of the occupants almost immeasurably. I've had a lot of experience with this. So I'm going to start with my presentation. I'm going to show you some of the statements that I douse for a home and property, and that are some of my largest findings. And when a client books an appointment with me, I usually go into a much deeper process of diagnosing, and then I apply sacred geometry codes and frequencies to the home and property, again through absentia, and the corrections will be made. And I've seen amazing benefits, such as a home that has been on the market for maybe a year or two, and then we'll do a correction with either the owner or the home or the land it's on, and within a week or two, it will just sell for sometimes more than their asking price. And as well, if someone's looking into buying a property, I have a set of questions we can look there as well to understand if it's worth their investment. So today we're going to talk about some of the corrections you can make, some of the things to look for. And I am so excited to talk about this topic because I have seen so many immeasurable benefits with it. And actually they are quite measurable, because if a home has not been selling, or if it's been stagnant, the people in it have been ill, maybe not getting the energy they need, or they've been losing sleep. Maybe they all of a sudden have been experiencing financial problems. Maybe they're just losing energy. Maybe they're tired or feeling depressed. Whereas when they leave that land or that home, they're feeling fine. So there's a number of influences that can go on. I'm certain, as you've probably witnessed yourself. And then I'm going to leave time at the end for question and answer. So we're going to do a little presentation. I'll leave time at the end for your questions. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share with you my presentation here today. So this is Dowsing for Happy Homes with Happy People. I just want to make sure my screen is sharing. Okay, I think we're sharing now. Great. All right. So it's June 11th. This is when the presentation will be given at the ASD conference at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So symptoms of an out of tune home and property. You might feel like you're losing sleep. Maybe you're feeling unsettled, unsafe. Maybe you're a little bit sad. Maybe there's a loss of income or a loss of health. Maybe there's just something about the house that it's just not feeling good. And I think many of us are very intuitive people. So we're going to notice when something feels a little bit out of balance. But again, some of these influences are rather intense in how they operate. So they might have an encoding around them so that they operate in secret. But I have some dowsing techniques that will help us penetrate through those secrets or those veils that could be hiding things to discover. So even when a property can be out of tune, or even the land it's on, or maybe the objects. So I look at the land, the home, and the objects within it. And sometimes the home might be just fine, but the land has some problems. But again, the occupants of the home and property will still feel it. So you have to be able to discern if it's the home, property, or possessions. And we're going to get more into this throughout my presentation. But why is it that maybe you're great house cleaners, maybe we're expert feng shui people, we've got an amazingly beautiful house, and I've seen some amazingly beautiful houses with some very dysfunctional dynamics, unbeknownst to the innocent, well-meaning owners. So why does this happen? There are many reasons. I'm going to name just a few here. And I'm discovering new ones all the time, literally. When we can douse, and word it appropriately, we can discover nearly anything. Some common causes are looking at the history of the land. I can get more into this later, but if you have had a land or home or property where there's been a battle, or maybe something traumatic happened, or maybe it's been cursed, that will definitely still affect the occupants in present day. Sometimes trauma occurred on the land, whether it be with battlefield, a man-made trauma, or even an earth trauma. So it's important to look at that too. And then there's geopathic stress as well. There's a lot of earth changes going on right now. I talk about this a lot in my YouTube videos that I do with my energy clearings and psychic weather updates. But we are now in alignment with the central sun Alcyone, which is in the Pleiadian star system. It's the center of our whole galaxy, and we're getting impulsed. When I say we, the Earth, the Earth's core, the land, and ourselves are being impulsed by many weightless positive neutrinos and gamma rays, and it's up-leveling us. It's activating us. It's activating our homes. So we really want to make sure that we're taking care of that vibrational integrity of who we are and who our home and our home and property too. And the land will absorb the emotions of the people. So if we can keep ourselves calm, decrease our anger, our deep negative emotional charge, I believe that we are connected into the land through that thought connection, and even with our chakras, which I will talk more about. So the empowerment, though, is very important. Before we do any of this work, I'm going to start with you with a statement to douse, because if we are not empowered over something, we cannot do anything about it. So I have the exact wording here. My model of vibrational healing is based on naming it very specifically. And I think a lot of us douse that way too. So I've massaged this wording over the years, along with my Phoenix Vibrational Healer Vibe Tribe. We get together about once every few months, and we just review our processes and continually refine our dowsing and our approaches. So this is all an embodiment of going forward with new work and new research. So I'm sharing with you some of my newest stuff here, but one amazing statement to always check for yourself, or really, we're just talking about home and property right now. That's a separate session about yourself, but you can check this for yourself too. But I say, I have full, complete, and total personal, free ownership, possession, control, dominion, and authority of, on, upon, over, within, throughout, surrounding, above and beyond 100% of this property, land, home, and automobile. Now, certainly you can add to that list, but I think that's a great statement to start with. So I'm not gonna, that was my father calling, but we are halfway into this presentation, so we're gonna just keep going. So we wanna check that, and I am a deviceless dowser, but you can just feel it in your body. You can use your dowsing rods or your pendulum. If you're not empowered, we'll show you some techniques at the end to get empowered. So the other statement is, I or my dowsing is experiencing deception, self-deception, bias, or self-bias regarding this home, land, property, or its contents. And this is just part of a protocol I always use to douse my results, I check for bias, deception, or self-deception, because I find it maybe 25% of the time. And if there's a particular issue you douse that's very close to home, or close to, no pun intended, or close to your heart, sometimes I call on other dowsers, because I realize even if I clear my bias, I'm still going to wonder, am I really getting that? And I really encourage us to work as a group together with our dowsing to see if we can get the same results, or roughly the same results. Now, we want to ensure the integrity of the space. So this is a key into understanding what can happen. So if a home and property is out of sync with its appropriate location, time, or place, and there have been a lot of manipulations with our timelines, so literally a property can be regressed into time, and sometimes entire whole cities. You can actually douse a city or a home just like you would a person. There are actually towns, like here I live near Pacific Grove, California. I would invite you to douse. Well, first of all, make sure that you have permission to douse, but I have been dousing that some towns like Pacific Grove are actually stuck or arrested in time. And you could go there and it literally, you might say, gosh, it's like we're in a time machine. And that's a really good clue into seeing, oh, maybe this home and property and its contents are not in their appropriate time and place, space and dimension reality. Of course, I would counsel you to look carefully if you're trying to clear a whole town or jurisdiction. We can do that, but we want to be very careful with how we approach it and make sure we have the permission to make sure it's appropriate. That's maybe another workshop. But I think it's important because our home and property can literally be out of phase with us. And then that's when some of the problems I mentioned can occur with lack of sleep, or feeling nervous, or not at home there, or even misfortunes in your life. So you want to check to make sure your home and land and its contents are 100% in attunement and resonance to yourself and the other residents. So another issue with homes is that they are containers of ourselves. They are really almost living embodiments. I mean, at the finest principle, there are temples. And so and this is our place we retreat. So we want to make sure we can recharge. And I find this statement is really important. You want to measure the life force your home has available. I look at not only just life force, vital life force, I look at prana and chi. And another big one is the love from the creator of all that is. And I found that when I can put that love into the home and property, it shifts very noticeably. And then this is that second statement I have is, of this amount of vital life force, the amount as a percentage the occupants are able to utilize effectively. So it could be that your home and property are available to a level of 98% or more to vital life force, but how much of it then are you able to utilize? So that's important to look at as well. And I'm moving through these pretty quickly, just in the interest of time. I love to pack a lot of information in a short amount of space, but you can replay this. I will have it on my YouTube channel as well. So when we find that our home might not be available to vital life force and might be blocked, why is that? Well, this next slide goes into that. So if you find low percentages, check to see if that home has, or property has, a bubble, a dome, a shield, or a foreign environment around it. Some of us who are clairvoyant can literally see this as an invisible bubble around the home. And I find it more often than not, actually. So you definitely want to check this before you check other statements. And I'm going on the highest level of my work here, but it's the juiciest and the best gem. So you can achieve some amazing benefits just by dowsing through these statements. And I've left some corrections at the end that I will show you how to do. I also encourage you to potentially look at professional assistance, a feng shui person, or a vibrational healer. I know that many of us in this group are very adept at clearing. And I would love to hear what you found that will help clear your home too. I'm always open to new research, and certainly I'm not the ultimate authority. We all have our own techniques. So whatever you find that works, use it. And I'll share some with you at the end of this too. But this third statement is one that is another very important one. Going back to why I mentioned some of the land and homes can be out of sync or have some problems. I mentioned, look at the historical part of it. If it's been on a battlefield, or if American Indians have died there, there are often and I don't look at the reasons as much, but I just look at the end results. So I will check to see if a home is under attack, assault, if it's under the influence of spells, hexes, curses, and aggression. So you can check for all of that. And you can even make up your own. Maybe there's voodoo. As crazy as it sounds, but there's a lot of that going on. And I could tell so many stories. There was a theater in Monterey that I had two professional healers work on this property, and it was some very dark magic that came from a certain country in Europe. And it was set to go off when very high vibratory people were there. And it was literally set up as a system to be a safeguard system. So you just don't know what's going on with the property. That's why it's so wonderful we have our dowsing, and we can have these connections we make. So that is an external influence. And then other external influences too. Sometimes there can be a reverse polarity. It's more of a geophysics type of deal, but the reverse polarity will prevent positivity from coming in on a life force level, even on a physical element level with great airflow, or your plants growing well, nutrients in the soil. So if you find there's reverse polarity, I'll just show you this right now. You can take your hands in a mudra like this and envision them in your house. Take an in breath, out breath, flip the polarity. I just had to throw that in. So also another biggie that I found on properties is there could be an inappropriate portal or doorway or gateway or access way. And this gets a little out there, but this is the level of my work I do. It's a little exotic, but sometimes there's a portal that's open on the land or in an astral portal, and there are literally influences coming in from other realms, which you might not be aware of because they shield themselves quite well. You definitely want to be able to douse those and clear them, and clear anything that came in by way of them or through them. Again, sometimes there can be discordant ley lines or global grid lines, or noxious earth energies, and you want to be aware of those too. And you can actually clear the negative energy coming from the ley lines to make sure to ensure that your home and property is clear of those. So I also look at influences from others. So if you have found some discordant influences on your property, or maybe you're seeing that it's not receiving optimum life force energy. What is optimum? I would say a home ought to be at least 85% or more available to vital life force energy, prana, or chi. And we could even do this little exercise right now. Let's take our own home, and I access a home and property by its radionic witness. So you can just write down the address of the home. I don't need the sometimes the city and state helps, not necessarily the zip code. And you check to make sure the home is 100% open and clear to give and receive 100% accurate, truthful, reliable information. Now, this is not on a slide, so I'll say this out loud a little more. The first thing you want to check is to ensure that the home and property and yourself are free and clear to give and receive 100% accurate, truthful, and reliable information. Now, if you get a no, and you're sure you received a no, there's this really easy technique to correct that. You can do it for yourself, and you can actually do it with yourself and intend that you're doing it for your home and property too. And it's just a muscle testing, kinesthetic exercise. So you just start with your hands on your shoulders, take a deep breath and reverse them and do it again. And if you're getting any reversals in your dowsing, say you get that you're not 100% free and clear to give and receive 100% accurate, truthful, reliable information, you get a no, do that exercise. If your home and property reads up as a no, intend that you're doing this on behalf of your home and property. So then you can, once you've established the baseline that the home and property are actually available to truth, as deemed truth by only the creator of all that is, then you can check for the next piece here, which is potential influence from others. And I don't necessarily trace it back to someone specific, because I think that plays a blame game, and it interferes with the idea of just what needs to be cleared. I don't believe it's important to find out who or what, maybe the what, but not the who, because it's just more difficult to douse, and it can cause maybe some undue negative emotional charge if you think someone's responsible for leaving some negative stuff on your land. But you definitely want to check for discordant emotional, substance abuse, emotional trauma, imprints of disaster, warfare, and violence, energies and forces of conflict, and suppressive and oppressive influences. The last one, suppressive and oppressive influences, is actually quite common. So what do you do if you find those? Well, I will be going through, this is my cat, Dr. Bo. He likes to assist me. Thank you, Bo. I will be going through some clearing processes at the end of this presentation. But now that we're on it, let's just say we're dowsing into a particular property and we find that there's discordant emotional abuse. And I like to go up to the level of the creator of all that is. So I do this anonymously. And I form a connection through a gold bond of light to the creator. And I put a gold bond of light from the creator of all that is down to my home and property. So we're working straight through the creator, and only for that which is in the home and property's highest and best, and those appropriately involved. And if you find any of these 5 with an in-breath, take an in-breath, and you're going to do a sweeping mudra, concentrating on these. Let's say we found emotional trauma on the property. We're going to take an in-breath and key into this emotional trauma throughout all timelines, from the beginning point of inception to infinity and beyond. We're going to breathe in and sweep it out on the out breath. And we can continue to do that until it's complete. You can actually douse the level of completion with emotional trauma or the imprints of disaster, warfare, or violence. Now, sometimes it might be that a more in-depth clearing is necessary. In fact, many times it will be. But my goal in this session is to clue you in on some potential major influences I have found in homes and properties, and to show you some very simple, basic, but effective tools that you can fix this yourself. And certainly encourage you to hire an expert if you think you should, because sometimes the homes, they do need some extra attention on a deep level, and the people along with them too. I usually, even when I'm just hired to do a property assessment and clearing, I will often ask about the situation of the people too, because I'll find that if there's a negative, noxious influence on the property, it can very much be detrimental to the people. They might have just recently lost their job or a relationship, and I find that many times. So we don't necessarily go and really fix the people, but you can fix that influence and fix the damage that the influence has done to the person potentially. So I will definitely take questions at the end. I know I'm going at a pretty quick rate. I just want to get this information into your hands, and then we can talk about it later. As well, so there's geopathic stress and stressors too, especially right now with cell phone towers, the earth changes I described, and just in general, the land is shifting, and there's more electrical magnetic interference with Wi-Fi. So you want to look at the percentage of electrical pollution in your home, of radio frequency pollution, your electrical appliances, especially HVAC systems, fans, motors, to see if they're exuding frequencies. Sometimes it's a simple fix. Sometimes you might need to get some special EMF deflectors. I actually have developed a sacred geometry code protocol to negate some of the noxious effects of the new 5G and tower frequencies coming in, and how we use those and how we can modulate them, those frequencies, to be a little easier in the home. Also, more people are looking into EMF readers. I think those are a very handy tool. Of course, our dowsing is like having a little built-in EMF reader, but it's always nice to have that outside resource too. So this is, again, the very high-level Reader's Digest. I could probably do a whole clearing session on pollution in home, or a whole teaching session on it too. I just want to make you aware of it, give you some of my background on it. This is a really good one too. Sometimes the items in the home are detrimental. Sometimes they might have had a spell or a curse put on them, or some very negative thing happened or violence happened with them. The most recent finding I had was one of my clients had a cat with some bladder problems, and I doused that there was a belonging in her home that was channeling black magic sorcery. Yeah, this stuff's pretty exotic, but that is a specialty of my clearing work. We find these very intense, noxious influences, and we just cut them, clear them from the beginning of inception to infinity and beyond, and all their influences in a way that's anonymous and effective. So the belongings in the home, though, if they're detrimental, you can definitely feel it. This particular lady, her cat had some kidney problems, and I doused that there was a suitcase in her living room, and within it was a problem. And she had just recently been to an antiques show, and she bought a Stay Alive. I think it was called it was like a Baby Alive doll from the 70s. And it was channeling noxious frequencies, and her cat was sitting on the suitcase with which it was located in. And the noxious frequencies of this Baby Alive doll were literally absorbing into the cat. And I doused it was something in a suitcase in her home, and she named the Baby Alive doll, and it was a definite, like a 98% level of detriment. So she threw the doll out. Of course, she got the appropriate vet care for her pet too, but most of it was already cleared by the time she got to the vet, because that sorcery coming from the doll was affecting the functioning of the cat's kidneys. And he was laying on that suitcase apparently while she was at work for like 12 hours a day. So that's just like, I know this stuff sounds sort of minuscule and weird, but just sharing with you some of the big little weird ticket items I found. So, you know, it's always good to keep our homes clear, and I'm having a garage sale in the next few weeks too. So if you're really one of these people that doesn't want to let go of something, this has been an effective tool for me, because I love dowsing, and I've relied on it for 20 years to be my best friend. It's probably the most important skill I've ever learned beyond reading and writing and walking. And I say that with actually much seriousness. I love dowsing. So when I have to get rid of stuff, I will douse. It's in 85% or more in my highest and best interest to continue to own this item. So there you go. Also, for buying a new piece of furniture, you can use your little, you can sort of be your own little feng shui genie just through your dowsing. So I've given you some wording here. If you're buying a piece of furniture, hanging a picture, or rearranging, you can find the best placement. I get very quantitative. I'll break down the house in terms of levels. It's in order of priority. This new painting would be most beneficial on the first floor, the second floor. The most optimum feng shui for it will be on the first or second floor. And then within that, I'll break it down into the various rooms and to the walls, and then try it out. So I gave you a nice little statement here. I won't read it out loud, but you can read it. And I think the presentation will be available later too. So this goes into, this is a very high level look at some of the outside influences. Again, I found on some homes and properties that have issues. Discordant channels, flows, or streams. Those could be from earth energies, earth spirits. They could be cast. They could be created by technology. We can close those. We can close them and discreate them from the property. You're going to have more energy. Again, just detrimental energy bonds. You can even get a detrimental energy bond coming in from another time, another place, through the ley lines. Negative upshoots of energy can be more earth energies, and definitely, I think dowsing rods and pendulums work really well here. I am a deviceless dowser, so if I find there's a negative upshoot of energy on my property, I'll start with it's in my, actually inside of my home, it's on the land, and if I get it's in my home, I'll say it's in, you know, I sort of break it out into the rooms or the quadrants. But if you have dowsing rods, just say, show me those negative upshoots of energy, they'll go right there. Same with black energy spirals. Those are a little bit more nefarious and can cause some severe interference for your home, where literally your life force is draining out, where you can't sleep. You might have disputes, conflicts, and especially if it's on the land site of a business, your revenue might be leaking out. You can also, it's not on this presentation, but you can literally check for leaks and drains on a property or in your field. And if you find them, you can count and number them. And if you're leaking and draining out energy, I bet you're probably losing revenue, or your electricity bills or your water bills are really high. I think I learned a long time ago, it's like a physical example of this. If you have leaking faucets, it's supposed to be a very char sheet. It's like a negative feng shui influence. And it literally is real, because if your water faucets are dripping water, your water bill is going to be higher. So that's kind of what these leaks and drains can be about. Black energy spirals are usually byproducts of black magic sorcery that have been cast there, and they can cause actual physical, I guess, disconnects in your physical body. Geopathic stress we've mentioned. It can come from a variety of sources. And then discordant physical thought forms. And that's going to be more left by the physical occupants of the land. So if someone let's say there was a family that rented a home, and the family had some domestic violence issues of abuse, physical or verbal. And over time, those words of hurt or attack, they literally start to have physical thought forms that are embedded within the walls. And that's why you might walk into a home and feel like, this just doesn't feel right. It could be beautiful, but you're sensing that there's something imprinted that's not quite great. And again, with the bed and sleeping area, we are a sacred geometry body. And when we sleep, that imprints itself over our bed. So we want to make sure that our bed and our clothes are all free of those discordant physical thought forms. That's why it's hard sometimes for me to sleep in, like when I go to a guest bedroom, if a lot of people are a hotel, I always clear that room. And I even can put up a quantum chamber of light. If you're staying in a hotel or someone's home and you don't want to bother to clear the whole hotel or the whole room, I will do like my version of a little cocoon, and I'll ask the creator of all that is to establish a golden bubble of light all around me while I'll sleep, or a quantum chamber of healing. And I just take it with me throughout my stay, or if someone's actually even in a hospital. Sometimes they get moved from room to room, or they go into X-ray, or they go into other departments. So you don't always know where they're at, but it's even in a hospital, it's more important than almost ever to ensure that a quantum chamber of healing and light and protection stays intact around that person wherever they go. And so with your will and intention, you can go forward and do that. And then through your dowsing, you just want to make sure that it's intact and beneficial, and go from there. So I've talked a lot about some of the disconnects we've had with land and homes. And literally we could go into this for like a whole workshop, but I have, to give you some very basic tools you can use. I use sacred geometry codes and clearings I've been attuned to. It's like a pretty intense form of Reiki. But if you don't have those codes and frequencies in your field, yet, then you can use some of these meditations. And I got this from the Pleiadian workbook, Amora Kuan Yin. I started using this in 2004 when I lived in a historic old Victorian girls' school that was built in 1903. So it had a lot of imprints of fun, happiness, craziness, and a variety of the spectrum of craziness. But I was starting to do my healing work at that time, and I didn't want that craziness energy anymore, but I didn't really want to clear the whole property at that time either. So I used this technique to put it around my apartment. And I would do it when you first start doing this technique, you'll probably want to do it every day, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And I noticed over time, probably about 6 months of me doing this process with my apartment, I started feeling more comfortable to expand it outwards to the whole building. And I started noticing that the tenants that living there were a lot calmer, higher vibrational, more of a very serious-minded, sort of a spiritual group. So I don't know what happened with that. I want to say maybe this meditation, I feel like this meditation probably really helped. And you could probably even just douse the level of benefit over time that doing this process helps. Expressed as a percentage is greater than 50%, 60%. So I think it's pretty high. I'm not going to read this out loud, but I encourage you to just pause the screen or look at my notes later. And I think it's a really amazing technique. So another way that I work with homes and properties, I've kind of already mentioned to you. I work anonymously through only the creator of all that is. So if there is something going on with the property that is rather nefarious or intense, by me working anonymously through the creator, I am actually protecting myself and anything on the other side, and helps the people, protects them too. So I establish a gold bond of light from my crown chakra to the creator of all that is. And you just see the gold bond of light going up to the creator. And then from the creator on the other side, with my will and intention, I put that person's home, property, and the residents there too. So I work anonymously through the creator. And sometimes I'll just, if I'm not there on the property, with my will and intention, I'll put their address right here in my hands, or I'll write it down on a piece of paper, and I'll connect that gold bond of light from the creator into the name, to their address on the piece of paper. And then you douse to make sure you've established a complete appropriate connection to the home, to the property, and that you're fully and completely anonymous. You want to stay anonymous in case there's anything that could come back and get you. Not to sound like paranoid or mad-eye Moody in Harry Potter, but you just want to make sure you're working in the best and most ways that have the most integrity for you. So you, with will and intention, you charge the creator of all it is to find, identify, locate, and clear fully to completion all forms, types, levels, varieties. You can go back to the earlier slides and you can insert what we're finding. Maybe we found negative emotional charge on the property. Then you can just insert that in, and you, with will and intention, you charge the creator of all it is to identify, find, and locate and clear fully to completion all forms, types, levels, varieties of negative emotional charge. And we are all powerful creator beings, co-creator beings. So we have the ability to ask for that clearing to be done once we're empowered. And that's the paradox. Knowing that we're empowered makes us empowered. If we don't know we can be empowered, then we're not. And a lot of these clearings aren't effective. And I think that's sometimes why people aren't always feeling confident with their dowsing results, that they haven't fully empowered themselves over their dowsing to a level of 100%. So that might be something to check into as well. So there are 5 more techniques to mention if you found an influence that needs to be cleared. One of them is the sweeping mudra, which I mentioned before. You go up to that level of the creator, key in on what is the influence you'd like to clear, take an in-breath, and on your out-breath, sweep it out. You can clear chakras this way, houses. If you can douse the level of completion of this clearing, You can douse if it needs another sweeping mudra, and you can clear it to completion. Another very important clearing that's easy to do is, say you have identified a leak or a drain energetically on your property, or maybe you've identified a bubble or a shield around your home that's preventing you or your family from receiving the beneficial life force energy. You can go to that level of creator, and with your hand, you could just do a chopping mudra, chop off that influence of the bubble. Or if it's a leak or a drain, you chop it. And then you seal it with a golden figure 8 with your hands. And another technique you can do is in your mind's eye, and envision pink mist or a violet flame all around your property, and breathe that in and intend that your home and property breathes it in as well. And roses are also an important one. I have some real roses right here behind me, but you can actually send roses in energetically through your mind's eye if there's an influence on your property that needs to be cleared. And you can just actually envision a beautiful golden rose, of any color, of any beautiful bright color. And you can envision this rose going in and just absorbing up that negative energy, and it goes outside of the house and just explodes outside of the field. I also put roses around the house to protect it. I put roses energetically around my field to protect that. So those are very, very valuable. And roses are pieces of sacred geometry. And sacred geometry will reattune the harmony and the high vibrational frequencies of our original blueprint, so that our body will restore itself to its own integrity. It allows the body to do its own healing. That's what sacred geometry is. And roses are the physical embodiment of sacred geometry. So you can be very creative in working with those. And again, I think many traditions use the roses. I borrowed mine and adapted it from Amora Kuan Yin's Pleiadian workbook that I mentioned earlier. And then the last, but yet most effective is if this is of your mindset, it's not for everybody's mindset, but call on your guardian angels, call on the angels of the home to do the clearings in order of priority that must be done for the property. And let them do their work, because I've seen miracles happen that way. So I gave you some statements to check, to look into with your home and property, some clearing tools. I definitely welcome your questions, and I am available for appointments. My website is theintuitivesolution.com. I'm Beth Roszman. If you need to reach me, I will have my contact information available. And I appreciate you receiving this information and using it to your highest and best. It's been my honor to be here with you today. Happy home healing. Till next time.